In this video, we are going to convert the PSD into the HTML. As you can see, this is the HTML which I have converted, and this is the PSD. You can see there is no difference at all. Now we are going to convert it, and to follow along, I will leave the source code in the description. Fine. Now we are going to use the Bootstrap 3 version of the HTML. Fine. Now you can see we have one HTML, one image, and one style sheet. Now let's create. Let me create and start from scratch. Let me create a new folder. You can give any name. I'm giving PSD to Bootstrap 4. This is the project 2. I have done the previous first project, and more upcoming project is about to come. Now let me open my favorite text editor, which is Visual Studio Code. Let me create a file called index.html inside the folder which I have created. Now I have created the style sheet as well. Now let me close the HTML version of myself, and let me open the we are not going to download the Bootstrap. We are just going to use the CDN version. So for that, I'm going to get the CDN version from the 33 school. Why I'm doing it? Because it has all the CDN required: bootstrap.css, bootstrap.js, and jQuery. It is all included in the W3 school. That's why I'm copying pasting the same template, and I'm linking my CSS, which we do by specifying on the link tag. Now you can see we just this is the old one. We need the font as well as the font awesome. Let me use the font awesome icon in my project. For that, I'm going to use a CDN. I'm going to use the CDN of the font awesome. Now this is a custom CSS just to specify. Now what we need is I'm going to download, or I'm going to use the Google font Poppins. This is a link which we get. Now you can choose the version of the Poppins font. I like this one, so select the one and click on embed. You will get the link tag. Let me use the link tag, and along with that you will get the font name. Copy it and use it in the style sheet. Before writing code, let me give the style. Let me give some style so that we don't have to look here and there from HTML to CSS. I have given the whole content with the font family Poppins. Now I'm going to give the font size for paragraph, and the line height for paragraph, and the color for the paragraph. The same way we are going to use some heading tags. We would be using the font size, line height, and color for the same heading tag as well. Here I would be using H3 and H4. The font height would be little higher, line height would be little smaller as compared to paragraph. Now let's get into the HTML. You can see we have one heading which would be of H3 or H4, and one paragraph. Let's create a basic one starting with HTML, only the HTML, the heading, and then the paragraph. Lorem ipsum with 25 words, and then we have a link which we will specify with an anchor tag. You can see there is a space on left and right. That means it is inside the container. So let's give the class container and surround the heading, paragraph, and anchor tag inside it. Before container, let me surround it with padding on left and right. That's why px-5 is the maximum we can give. Let's surround it with container. Now let's surround it with a section, and we can access this section in the CSS. Let me open it and show you how does it looks. We have created a folder. Inside the folder we have index file. So this is how it looks. You can see now we have missed the top. So let's surround the div with p padding on along y axis, which is height. We will give it the maximum, which is 5. Fine, now you can see that looks similar. If you want, you can reduce the paragraph words. Let me increase it to match the PSD, which is of 3 lines. Let me increase the font weight for heading, and let me change the color to black, from light black to dark black. Fine. Now let's design the button, which is the link with class btn. We have not specified the btn exclusively. Let me give the id so that I can call the anchor tag inside it directly without specifying any class. Let me give the background color as orange. Let's give a class called btn. So by default it will have padding. You can see there is the border color. Let me remove the default border color. Button success gives the green, that's why it is green at the border of the button. Let me make the text as black, and now that looks appropriate. Now let's decrease the font weight. Fine, that looks somewhat same. Now let's jump into the second section, which is 2 column. So yeah, 2 column and 1 row. So with the basic HTML, it is simply a row, but this whole thing will be surrounded inside the section. At present we don't need. Let me comment it. So we will start from inside out. We have 2 columns, so for the column we need row. So let's create a row, and let's create 2 columns which is of same width. So call md6 would be appropriate here. And we have image, and I have already placed an image, but now we don't have. Let me copy paste it. We have image called grid. Let me paste it in our folder so that we can access it, giving the relative path. And to fit inside the container, to fit the image inside the container, what you will do is you will use a class. So right now it's not fitting, so image fluid will make it fit to the container. Yep, that's working. Now let's work on the second half. Call md6 will give you the second half equal width. Now we have a heading and a paragraph and a button like previous section. On the heading we have a text called. We won't look at the text, we can write anything to match the PSD. So right now I'm just using the same text which we were using in the PSD. And then we have a paragraph, a lorem ipsum text which would be 25 words length. And again we have a link. As like previous, it was a button, and again it is a button which would have text service info. The class would be of btn success. We would override the success color with our color. Fine. Now we have done the basic HTML part. Now let's focus on the margin side. It should fit inside the container. So for that, what we need is we have to surround our. Let's give You can see on the left and right there is some space, and there is container. So we need padding as well as container. So let's first use container. Let's surround our HTML with container, and now that's working. You can see. Let me uncomment the section. We don't need padding over here. We use a section that means we have to change the background color of it. So we want padding on high on top and bottom. The maximum value is 5. I'm using 4. I'm choosing the ID so that I can give background color #edebee, which will give a grayish white. Now the text is little long. Now let's change the background color. It is somewhat same. Let's add a padding top and bottom 3. Fine, that looks appropriate. Now we are going to work on the third section. We have 3 column. We would start with the third section with ID. We will use it afterwards. We will start from inside out. So to the basic we have 3 column. So for to use column we need row. So it's 3 column. Use row and call md4, and inside each column there is again 2 section. So for that, row and call md2 and call md10. To sum up it will be 12. Instead of 2 and 10 we are going to use 9 and 3 and 9. So first one would be the font awesome. The second div would have one heading and one paragraph. Let's use a global text. From the next tutorial I would be typing this word one by one. Instead I would copy it in a notepad so that we can save some time. We need 25 words. I believe the 25 words would be so big. We need to remove something. Yeah, it is too big. We just need 3 lines. We would copy paste the same thing for 3 times because we need 3 times. Let me change the font awesome icon, and we will leave the padding, or we will leave the heading and paragraph same. You can see it's digital agency and trusted partner. Let me change, it won't look nice. Fine. Now if you refresh, this is how it looks. Let me paste it inside the container so that it fits with the previous one. You can see all of them are inside a container. So let me place this section also inside the container. Let's surround our row inside the container along with the padding on left and right. Make sure your padding should be same for all the 3 sections. Again we need container, so it is easy for us to understand from inside out rather than outside in. So we would fix the HTML first, and then we would go for the padding, and then we go for the container. So this way it works easily without any tension. Fine. Now now there is three lines. Let me copy paste this three line to all other columns, and let me increase the font size of the font awesome icon. Let me give padding top and bottom. Yeah, that's working. Now I just have to increase the font awesome icon, font awesome font size. Let me uncomment the section. Let me call it with id. On id third I have a I tag. I want to change the high tag font size as 3 am, and I want to change the color as well. It's not working. Let me see why. I have not saved it. Fine. Now let me change the color as orange. Now that looks cool. Thank you so much for listening. Get the source code in the description to follow along.